Hello and welcome to the season 5 of my podcast What's in a Story, titled Snippets from Forgotten Pages of History of South Asia. I am Lopamudra Moitro, an anthropologist, writer, translator and columnist, and in my podcast I read stories from my books on India and South Asia. The stories of this podcast are mostly from folklore and mythology and history, and I introduce each story with some additional information from the pages of history, archaeology, geology and others, which actually helps to place the stories within a specific context. In this season, we will be looking at some lesser known or completely unexplored and forgotten stories from history, which has been put together in my books through the help of old books, newspapers, gazetteers, numismatic or epigraphical evidences, which will be mentioned in the introduction of each story. These also help to provide a possible time of the origin of the story. Thanks to you listeners, this podcast, which began as a small individual effort of mine last year in May 2025, and according to the latest audience data, this podcast presently reaches across 21 countries and regions of the world, and apart from India, these are the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Austria, Sri Lanka, Russia, France, Brazil, Australia, Singapore, Philippines, Turkey, Finland, Uruguay, South Africa, Italy, Bhutan, Curaçao, Czechia and Poland. Thanks to each and every listener who made this possible. Let's listen to today's story of season 5 of my podcast What's in a Story, titled Snippets from Forgotten Pages of History of South Asia. Today's story is about postal runners from across the region of South Asia, and a little bit of history about this system of mail delivery. And I read this from my article titled The Postal Runners of South Asia Down the Ages, published in 2018 in Newsin.Asia, a Colombo-based online newspaper from Sri Lanka. Browsing through a collection of postage stamps from South Asian countries, I found two from the erstwhile region of Ceylon, the present-day Sri Lanka, worth rupees 10 and 30, with the picture of a mail runner on them. A mail runner, a postal runner. The illustrations showed a man carrying a heavy sack of mails on his head, with the acronym GPO or General Post Office inscribed on it. His left hand supported the sack while he held a spear in his right hand. Below the image on the rupees 2 stamp was written Mail Runner 1815, which had been issued in 1990 to commemorate the 175th anniversary of the Postal Service of Sri Lanka. On the rupees 30 stamp was written Ancient Mail Conveyance Systems of Ceylon. This had been issued on the occasion of the World Postal Day in 2016. The images of the mail runner brought to my mind the famous 20th century poem Runner, written by Bengali poet Shukanto Bhattacharya. This was set to tune and made into a song by music maestro Sholil Choudhury in 1951. The singer was the legendary Hemanto Mukherjee, also famous as Hemant Kumar in the Hindi film industry. The poem and its lyrics brought out the life and the hardship of a male runner, his emotions, anxieties and expressions, and also portrayed the social context in which he lived and did his job. All the while, this entire context being also a representation of the struggles of the common man. Though the mail is a recent phenomenon, messenger systems, however, had existed in the South Asian region even in ancient times. The postal runners of the erstwhile days would carry a sack of mails in one hand and a spear with a bell in the other. The sound of the bell helped keep animals at bay. In very ancient times, message delivery men were often accompanied by armed guards if the messages were from royals or nobles. The masses used to send their letters through their friends or relations often. The messenger system of the royals was the more organized one. The Dakpal or the postmaster was responsible for maintaining the line of communication. Mail delivery was a risky proposition because of the presence of bandits, robbers and wild animals on the way. Let's look at some of the countries across South Asia about the early days of the mail delivery system or the time of the mail runner. And I read this from my article titled The Postal Runners of South Asia Down the Ages, published in 2018 in Newsin.Asia, a Colombo-based online newspaper from Sri Lanka. The link of this article is provided in the information section of this podcast. Follows today's story about the postal runners of South Asia down the ages. The story about the postal runners of South Asia down the ages. And I read this from my article of the same name from 2018. The link of the article is provided in the information section of this podcast, and it was published in Newsin.Asia, a Colombo-based online newspaper. Let's begin by looking at Bhutan. The Bhutanese postal runner. The runners were an important part of the socio-cultural and economic system, as they not only delivered messages but also acted as secret agents during the time of wars. They were used by traders and merchants to carry out business transactions in far-flung areas. It was much later that the mail runners became a specialized mail delivery system without any other functions. However, in modern times, the postal department took on many functions, including running telephone and broadcasting systems. In Bhutan, the royal government introduced a regular mail dispatch system in 1955. It functioned every 5 days and could be used by common people. Fiscal revenue stamps were introduced a year before. Mails for the king were, however, free of any such charges. This revised mail runner system, with the use of fiscals as postage, is referred to as the Zong dark system, but the mails were for delivery within the country only. Some postage stamps of Bhutan commemorate these initial steps through various illustrations of the nation's royalty, the country's arts, craft and wildlife. The runners in Bhutan were known as Garb, and these walked between Punakha and Tromsa, crossing mountain, rivers and dense forest to cover a distance of about 135.8 km each way. Let's look at India. The medieval Indian king Qutbuddin Aibak was a trusted general of Muhammad Ghori and became the first Sultan of Delhi, marking the foundation of what later on came to be referred to as the Delhi Sultanate. And he ruled between 1206 to 1210. Is believed to have created a regular specialized mail delivery system for the first time. This expanded further under the rule of Alauddin Khilji in later years with dark chowkis, that is stations specially made for messages, the letters, and horse and foot runner services in 1296. During the Mughal dynasty in India, the runners were paid according to the distance travelled and the weight of the letters. Each letter was exchanged by over 24 runners before they reached their destination. It was much later, in mid-19th century, that horses and camels were included into the postal service. Let's look at Afghanistan. The postal runners were reported in Afghanistan even as late as the 1920s. Larissa Rezner, the wife of then Soviet ambassador Fyodor Raskolnikov, saw them in service when she witnessed the 1920 Independence Day celebrations in Kabul. All foreign mails had to be routed through Kabul. The runners would take the fees from the center around between 1 and 3 annas, and then they would carry it to the contract post office and deposit there. Let's look at Sri Lanka. One of the earliest methods of message delivery system in Sri Lanka was the pigeon post. This existed along with postal runners and Andabera Karayas or drummers who would announce royal edicts with the cry Asao, Asao, which is almost like Hake, Hake. The Andabera Karayas were around up until the 20th century, often used by the government to announce notices, important dates, and availability of medical clinics. The history of the message delivery system during the colonial period in Sri Lanka can be traced back to the time of the Dutch colonial rule in the region, about 3 centuries ago, when the maritime provinces were under the Dutch rule. The Postal Training Institute and the National Postal Museum reflect much part of the history of the service. The Dutch established a postal service in 1789 with 5 post offices in the maritime districts of Gaul, Colombo, Mannar, Jaffna and Trincomalee. Letters which were shipped from Holland in Europe would take about a year to reach the country, and upon reaching, they were distributed within the city by the Lascarenes, a military unit of Malay soldiers. In 1797, when the country became a British Crown colony, the British reorganized the postal services in Sri Lanka. In 1802, the first post office was set up for both inland and overseas mails. By 1836, there were 12 post offices. The number of post offices soon grew to 112. Later, they also took on more functions. They made public announcements, sent telegrams, and offered telephone and banking facilities. The Sri Lanka Mail Runner in 1815. For the delivery of mails from the GPO or the General Post Office in Colombo to other parts, especially the central region of Kandy, various systems of delivery were established. A mail coach service was established between Colombo and Kandy in 1832, and a year later, between Galle and Colombo, horse carriages, bullock carts and rickshaws were used apart from runners and birds. Postal runners were employed to traverse difficult beats like jungle tracks. They carried a spear along with a loud bell called the minigedia to scare away animals. Interestingly enough, this minigedia was carried as recently as the early 1900s. Let's look at Tibet now. In Tibet, the British set up telegraph and post offices in 1906. Nepalese and Indian traders found this system to be very useful. The Buddhist monasteries had their own runners. The runners identified the mails of various traders by hand-marked symbols on the envelopes. The mail also included newspapers from Kolkata, but they took about a week to reach. This was a significant achievement since the distance of Kolkata to Lhasa in Tibet and the difference in altitude made it a formidable challenge. Michael Buckley, in his Tibet, gives details about these deliveries, and I quote, "By 1930s, few of Dalai Lama's letters were dispatched and they hardly went beyond Sikkim. These were carried by private runners and enclosed ceremonial silk scarves and perhaps a small bag of gold dust. They could only leave the Putala on auspicious dates." Unquote. Let's look at Nepal. In Nepal, most reports points to the existence of an organized postal service from the last quarter of 19th century onwards. Till then, the messenger system was limited only to the needs of the royalty only, and messenger runners were used. One of the earliest kings under whom an organized system of messenger delivery was used was Prithvi Narayan Shah, who ruled Nepal from 1768 to 1775. In that period, communications were between Kathmandu, Nuwakot, Gorkha, and some other places. However, the general public were not allowed to use the government postal system. The scope increased with the establishment of the Nepal Postal House or the Nepal Hulak Ghor in 1879. The first postal stamp in Nepal was published in 1881.